Welcome back to another episode of TVGB's We Roguelike It. I'm your host, Boston PhD. Joining me, as always, Dr. Moon.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Pleasure. We are here to, after 6 weeks of hopeful enjoyment with Rogue Legacy 2, we're here to put in our infallible list of the best roguelikes of all time. First, we're going to ask...
Objective, not subjective. Thank you
Correct.
very much.
We have never been wrong. Ever. But we're going to first talk about our overall feelings of the game, and we'll ask the most important question of all time, which is, are we going to keep playing what seems to be the longest game of all time? Moon, why don't you start us off here?
You know we did it like a year and a half on Isaac, right?
Yeah, if people don't remember. I was looking at the Isaac page on the TVGP website today, and I have a blurb there of like, the show ended at episode 65. And it's like, yeah, we did a lot of episodes of that show. Still very good. We did. You should check it out.
So, I love Rogue Legacy. I don't think it's the longest game ever. I think that's Isaac.
Yeah, probably.
Let's be real here. I haven't even played the new version, so who knows about that one. Yeah, I will keep playing it. Also, so I was Celador Games can consider themselves extremely lucky that you got sick.
Okay.
Because I was ready to come in here and sing this game's praises and then throw it down the toilet for doing the same thing that Hades did, which is, hey, you have achievement issues with the suspend resume feature.
Sure.
I was 100% ready to be like, nope.
Get down. Big old asterisk on it.
If you like achievements, buyer beware, that kind of jazz.
Yep.
So I put up a poll a couple of days ago on Twitter. I was like, yeah, this game's achievements are buggy. So should I continue playing the same file, start a new one, or wait for a patch?
Mm-hmm.
And the general consensus was continue to play the same file. It's like, cool, okay, that's fine. Then Celador responded.
A hero emerges.
With just go interact with the jukebox in the Soul Store, and it should resync all the achievements right there. I was like,
yes. Could it be that easy?
It can't be that easy. It cannot be that easy.
Yep.
So I went into the Soul Store. I walked over to the jukebox. I hit the B button. Came up with all of the list of the unlocked songs that you've got, which are some of them are based on achievements. Most of them, it appears, are based on achievements. So my guess is they use that to check your achievements list and resync it as needed.
Gotcha.
And it 100% worked. It logged every single achievement I was missing. I was like,
incredible.
Damn it.
Thank you, Celador.
I have one complaint.
Right.
One major complaint.
Right.
And you went and took that away from me.
How could you?
How dare you fix your game?
My righteous indignation.
Back in my day, we didn't get to patch our games. Back in my day,
can't patch a cartridge.
Exactly.
Right.
So it has been proven now that you can.
That's true.
Yeah, I will probably keep playing this game because I've still got like 19 achievements I need to get, and one of them is to basically get the true ending, which I don't know if you know what the true ending is.
No.
So I think I mentioned it to you in the fourth or fifth or sixth episode, how when you start a new thread, you can like have a special version of a boss.
Oh, right.
The true ending is to have every special version of a boss active.
Oh, fun. Wow. Okay, that's tough. Goodness.
So the special version of every single boss and then beat it. And that's like thread number 11 or 12 is basically what people have been saying.
Okay.
So I got a lot to go.
Yeah, that's for
what
sure.
I'm saying.
Goodness.
Great.
Yeah.
Yay. Oh no.
Yikes.
Yeah, there's too much stuff in this thing. Too much stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll keep playing. I know you will too.
Yeah, I mean, I will. It would be nicer if it was on my Daily Driver platform. Hopefully someday. They're a very small team, so I understand why not. I loved the first game, and it was one of those where I got to the point in the first game where I like got the true ending and I was fighting all the super difficult like level 700 secret bosses and stuff like that. Um, and it's one of those games where you're like, that was really good. Unfortunately, we will probably never see another one of these. And
Uh-huh.
the fact that we have another one and it is even better than the first one with even more stuff, but they've gone to such great lengths to make sure that all of these 50 or 60 different systems all interlock with each other in really smart ways, in ways that really
Uh-huh.
work. I think that's really impressive. It's a really incredible game, and it looks so much better than the first one. It controls so smoothly, and it
Yeah. And the house rules. Let's give credit
house
house
rules are
rules
great.
where
Yep.
like I don't get away from me if you're complaining about accessibility options in video games.
Yeah.
Like I
Get
don't
over
care about
yourself
your
in
opinion.
2022. Don't be a baby.
Uh-huh.
Like, just it costs nothing to shut up. Is my advice. Um, Especially because you can turn on the house rules and make the game way harder for yourself too.
Uh-huh.
They're not there to just make the game easier. Like, no shame if you need to make it easier. Whatever, enjoy the game. Um,
Yeah. You need to make it
but
harder, it's there too.
yeah,
Like that
um,
dude did a naked run of all of the Souls games to make it harder for himself. You do a naked run of all of the
yeah,
Rogue Legacy games.
yeah. Finish the whole game at like level 1 or whatever. Go for it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Rogue Legacy 2 is really great. I think my initial criticism was, hey, there's probably too much stuff in this game, but as all of the pieces of the game settle in and start clicking with each other in really interesting ways, I think that
Uh-huh.
criticism kind of falls by the wayside personally.
It also
Um,
like leaves you feeling stronger every time too. Like
mhm,
despite the fact that there's that whole thing of you're paying money to get the increases on the castle side of things.
right.
But then there's also like there's so many options for improving how to increase your strength.
Right. Your
Like
equipment and your spells and your runes and your
exactly.
pizzas, pizza girls and all that stuff. Like there's a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. So before Moon and I started this, we asked the question of ourselves: where are we going to start with this game? And we figured let's start at number 15. Is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Nuclear Throne?
It might be just a skosh easier. That much I
It's
know.
just a touch.
Oh,
It is
only
a
just like let's
finishable
get this
game.
out the way. Only just.
Yeah. Um, I would say definitely for sure. I think, like Spelunky, I think Nuclear Throne's strength is its simplicity. It does
Mhm.
not have a bajillion things going on for it, but I kind of like that about Rogue Legacy 2, that it has a ton of systems that are really well thought out and really well designed.
Yeah, Nuclear Throne feels like the traditional roguelike where it's like, no, you don't get upgrades. You might unlock
Yep.
additional characters, but you don't
You
get stronger as
you
you're
got to
playing
get
this. You're going
better.
to start from scratch every single time.
It's like the big argument that's get growing nowadays, which is, do you prefer roguelikes with meta progression or without? Um,
Mhm.
you know,
Always with,
I
even
prefer
though
with too.
even though our favorite has without, which is hilarious.
That's true. Um, is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Dicey Dungeons, a game I've been playing a lot of recently?
I'll let you go first on this one then.
I would say yeah. Um, I think Dicey Dungeons is really cool. I think as a roguelike, I think Rogue Legacy 2, I think, clicks more with me. Um, I think Dicey Dungeons probably has a wider variety of maybe challenges, and they play around with their rule set a lot more. Um, but I think Rogue Legacy 2, I think the interlocking 70 different systems this game has is really great.
Yeah, I would agree. I like Dicey Dungeons. Dicey Dungeons feels much more casual, which is not a bad thing.
No, yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think it goes above it.
Is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Has Been Heroes? Has Been Heroes
Arguably
is,
one of the most unique on our list.
yeah, for sure.
And that's a game that we barely scratched the depth of while we were playing it. Like, that's a game that's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculously deep.
Mm-hmm. I would say yes.
I think I prefer the combat in this. I'm not saying Has Been Heroes has got bad combat. I
No, yeah.
think I think I prefer this kind of combat.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Enter the Gungeon? Ooh, we're getting in some heavy hitters here now.
Time to get the spices out, Boston. Get that sweet mayonnaise jar.
I am going to say yes because I think. Look, I love Enter the Gungeon. Whomst amongst us doesn't? But I think one of the bigger criticisms that I think is totally fair about Enter the Gungeon is the difficulty curve in the beginning of that game is like
It's a
85
cliff.
degrees. Yeah, it's like
Like,
it is
it's not a
a
curve, it's a cliff.
yeah, like it is that game is tough, and I feel like it's one of those roguelikes that you beat your head against that wall for long enough, you eventually do break through, and you kind of have that moment like you have in Isaac where you're like, oh my god, it's all coming together, like it's all second nature. I got the flow chart in my head. Oh, yeah, all right, Enter the Gungeon. But before that, it feels pretty painful, and I'm saying that as someone who really genuinely does love it. And I think Rogue Legacy 2 doesn't really have that. I think you're
No.
making enough progress in the meta game, even just in the building the castle stuff. Even in bad runs, you're still doing pretty well on like maybe unlocking a new class, or maybe getting a little bit more health, or maybe increasing your XP gain, or maybe you just got a bad roll and you're gonna do better on the next one. Like I
Yeah.
feel like that run to run is a little bit more forgiving than something like Enter the Gungeon, where it's just sort of like, get back in there, man. Get back in the
Oh,
pain machine.
Enter the Gungeon feels like a graduation from the Isaac. Like, it's
Right,
like you play Nuclear Throne, you graduate from Nuclear Throne to Isaac, and then from Isaac to Enter the Gungeon. Like,
right,
they're the masters classes
right.
from the bachelors of Nuclear Throne.
You got the
Whereas this is
400 level classes over there.
yeah, this is community college roguelikes where it's
Hmm.
so much more approachable,
Yep.
and it feels more fun to play for me because it isn't throwing you to the wolves and there isn't 1,000 things. When you boil it down to the basics of it, it's swing your thing and don't take damage.
Yeah. It's like a platforming hack and slash kind of action adventure thing. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So it sounds
Yeah,
like the
I
answer
think it
is
goes
yes.
above.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, speaking of difficulty, is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Risk of Rain?
Yes,
Um,
it only kind of lied to me.
that's true. A little bit. I would agree too. Again, Risk of Rain is probably in like my top 5 favorite roguelikes of all time. Um,
It's probably in your top 5 games of all time, dude. Come on.
I could be convinced of that, yeah. Um, but man, is it hard. Like
It is.
no, almost no
Just
metagame to speak of. Like,
just like you just said with Gungeon, it's not a difficulty curve. It's a cliff.
yeah,
Like, I played that game for an entire season of this show. We played Risk of Rain, and it was okay, but it never 100% clicked with me until like the last week. Then I got it on the Xbox, and it's like, oh, I'm going to stomp this thing. And
oh, I got it
I
now.
I loved it on the Xbox because hey,
Right,
it didn't lie to me there. I
that's
knew I
right.
could use a controller.
That's right. All right, sounds like that's unanimous. We're going to put that above that. Is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Void Bastards?
I love Void Bastards just for the charm alone. It is a
Yeah.
very charming and unique kind of game.
This has the opposite difficulty problem of the last two games. There's no
Oh,
difficulty curve at the beginning until you get to like
it's
whatever
right near
layer
the end.
3 or 4, and then the game is just like, I'm going to put my boot in your face. I'm going to put your face in the dirt. Like,
Uh-huh.
welcome to hell, buddy.
I hope you like getting rehydrated because it's about to happen a lot.
Yeah, that difficulty is rough later on.
I'm fine with Rogue going above this. I love Void Bastards, but
Yeah.
if a lot of the time it felt very samey because you had the same 5 guns, the same 5 weapons or whatever. I didn't get far enough to unlock a whole bunch of stuff because, spoiler alert, that game gets impossible. Um, Whereas even just like Rogue Legacy 2, look at the classes. I'm still
Mhm.
unlocking classes now. I just unlocked the Ronin the other day.
Yeah. It's wild. Yeah, I would agree. I think on content and cohesion, I think Rogue Legacy 2 beats Void Bastards for me.
Mhm.
Is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Neon Abyss? Ooh, boy. Oh, boy. Ah, cha, 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 cha. Oh, I love Neon
I can
Abyss.
go.
Okay,
I
go
can
ahead.
go. Yes,
Okay,
because, and I don't mean to put things down when I say this,
sure.
but it's something we talked about with Neon Abyss when we were talking about the actual game itself. It was, it feels very derivative, and that's not a
Yes.
bad thing.
No,
It
no.
is derivative of some of the greats of the genre for a reason. It's got a little bit of Gungeon mixed in, a little bit of Isaac, a little bit
Yeah.
of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of Susie by my side. It's got all of this stuff blended into it, which is really well executed, and it is great for what it is.
Mm,
But Rogue Legacy 2, with the exception of Rogue Legacy, is pretty unique of itself.
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of jumping hacky slashy ones, but the art style in this game is so unique. The way it looks, the whole air system, the traits, the uh, like everything about it is so unique. Unless you played Rogue Legacy 1, which I haven't.
Right.
So it's not like you bump into all of these things over and over and over again. And if you do, if you've bumped into a different game, it's because they stole it from Rogue Legacy.
Well, and you're probably playing more roguelikes than even us at that point, and that's pretty impressive.
Uh-huh. Like
Oh,
on uniqueness alone, I think it goes above it. I don't remember. Abyss is a great game.
oh, for sure.
They just had a new DLC come out, I believe.
I just saw that the other day. They're like, we got more items and levels and enemies, and I'm like, please, I love you so much, and I don't have time to play you right now, Neon Abyss. Please.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I would agree. I think Rogue Legacy 2 goes above Neon Abyss. We're in the top 10 here, so these are all kind of killer games here. So, is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Dreamscaper? Oh boy. God, Dreamscaper's great. Dreamscaper is one of those games that I forget about until someone says Dreamscaper. I'm like, yeah, man. Oh, that game's so good.
Uh-huh. How far did you actually manage to get further in that game at all? Or did you stop?
Not since we played it, but
Okay.
God, that game's
That
so
game
good
goes some
though.
places.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Um, boy, this one's really tough.
They're both super unique. They both have their own
Yep.
art styles. They're both really tight controls wise. Yes.
A hesitant yes.
And let me, because quite often, for those of you who listen, a little bit behind the scenes, behind my head kind of things, a lot of the times when I'm deciding what goes above one thing or another, it's a general feel, but I always feel like I have to point out one thing, one specific thing that I think it does better. It might
You
do
try
20
and
things better.
justify your ranking.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm pretty sure is just human nature.
Sure.
But I think at the latter end of Dreamscaper, when you get to those deeper levels, and there's a lot of special effects going on with spells and talents and
Yeah,
effects and
the levels
weapons.
themselves.
Yeah, sometimes it can get a little bit difficult to get a read on what's going on, and whether that's because it's a three-dimensional space or because, like I do in all of these games, I am a fool and I rush in. Um, but sometimes it can be a little bit hard to read.
Mm.
Whereas Rogue Legacy, the only time it's hard to read is because you chose to make it hard to read, because you chose to have pitch black and everybody's a shadow, just so
Right.
you could get that extra little bit of gold. Like the torture is brought on by yourself. It's not the game doing it to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I would agree. We're getting into like the really tough decisions here, but I think Rogue Legacy 2 is altogether a more cohesive thing than Dreamscaper, but Dreamscaper is such like a special, unique game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Into the Breach? Talk about sort of
Hmm.
polar opposites here, gameplay wise.
Okay. So
Oh man.
I think this is going to come down to a personal preference because
Yeah.
arguably Into the Breach is the finest square-based strategy game slash puzzle game slash whatever you want to do roguelike ever made so far.
Right.
It's about as perfectly executed as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, from everything we've seen with Rogue Legacy 2, that's arguably the most perfectly executed side-scrolling jumpy hacky slashy roguelike that we've ever seen.
I would agree with that.
The two titans of the genre, like produced and done to perfection.
Head to head this Sunday.
Because you look at the rest of the ones above this, and it's all examples of the same thing.
Yep.
Hades is arguably the most perfect isometric, like hack and slash one that you've got.
Right.
Dreamscaper is number 2 maybe in that list, and that's below this now.
Yep.
Everspace is the best like space version of it.
All
Hand of
hail.
Fate, both examples are the best card slash action games.
Right.
Crypt of the Necrodancer is the best execution of rhythm-based roguelikes.
Right. You're
And
in the
Dead Cells
best of
is
the
the
best
best
at this point, Rogue Legacy
Metroidvania.
2.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think Rogue Legacy 2 goes over Into the Breach for personal preference alone.
I literally, I think at this point in the list, it's all we have.
Yeah.
Unless there's something like that really jumps out. I think generally speaking, it is a preference thing. I like Into the Breach. I genuinely like Into the Breach. It's not a genre I am comfortable with.
Sure.
I will always go to Rogue Legacy before Into the Breach.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds like it goes above then. Is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Everspace? Oh, boy. Oh, these are tough ones.
Oh, again, personal preference. They're all perfect examples. Rogue Legacy 2 goes above it because the amount of time and effort put into the meta game for Rogue Legacy 2,
Yeah.
how perfectly balanced. Look at all of those castle squares, and you probably haven't even seen them all yet.
No, I'm
But
pretty
that thing
close, but not all of them.
is a wall of squares, and every single one of them is finely balanced and tuned
Yep.
to the point where it affects the game, but not in a drastic way. And I hate to say this, but Everspace, all hell the gunship. Once you have the gunship, nothing else is viable because you
That's
just
true.
love the gunship too much.
It's true. You
That's
rule space
Everspace's
at that
one
point.
weakness
Yeah.
is it has one class that you use.
Yeah. It's true. I would agree with that, I think. Oh god, is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Dead Cells?
I love the panic in your voice when you said that, by the way. That was great.
These ones are so hard. God, man, I don't know. If anything kind of shares similar DNA between each other, these ones are probably approaching similarity more than anything else in the top of this list. I don't know if I want to make this choice.
So here is the thing.
Okay,
I didn't play Rogue Legacy 1.
sure.
You did.
Yeah,
Hand of Fate, obviously. High regard on this show. Number
right,
2.
right.
Do you think that the jump between Rogue Legacy 1 and 2 is more significant than the jump between Hand of Fate and Hand of Fate 2?
I would draw similarities between the two of them of kind of like you have a solid core to your game, and we're just going to improve everything.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like smooth the edges, clear up some of the issues that were outstanding, and then kind of build on that really solid, good core, and kind of put a lot more around it.
Because I know one of my complaints with Hand of Fate 2, one of the few complaints for the record, was
We're
that I
talking we're
think it
talking about
had.
Dead Cells first.
Hmm?
We're talking about Dead Cells first. We're still on
Are
Dead
we?
Cells. Yeah.
No, we're on Hand of Fate 2, dude. We just went above Everspace.
Oh, this is okay. I'm sorry. This is on the wrong order in the Trello sheet here. Hades, Hand of Fate, Crypt, Necrodancer, Dead Cells, Hand of Fate 2. Okay, so is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Hand of Fate 2?
Yes. Which
Take
I'm
two.
pretty sure you actually said Hand of Fate 2, by the way.
Probably. Yeah, things are when you got multiple spreadsheets here, things get a little weird.
They know.
Any hoozle.
But yes, the jump between the two.
Yeah.
My complaint with Hand of Fate 2 was that they added too many what felt like superfluous things in there, like the fishing game and the droppy divey thing.
Right.
It felt like they added a little too many of those in there. And let's not beat around the bush. Rogue Legacy 2 is not short of additional accoutrement and systems in place.
There's so much stuff.
But none of that feels like it's overwhelming or useless. It all feels like it serves a purpose overall.
It can feel overwhelming initially, like when a new thing unlocks. You're just like, oh
You
my,
avoided that soul shock.
I unlocked a whole new building and there's a bunch of people in there. Like, come on. But then once you see the loop, like the gameplay loop surrounding it and how it links into your normal sort of dungeon adventures, you're sort of like, oh, all right, do this thing to do this thing to do another thing to get big bonuses. It's like, oh, okay, all right, sure.
Yeah. I think it goes above it.
I would agree. I think for the point that you're making, which is both games are stuffed with systems, and both games have an incredibly solid core. And man, Hand of Fate 2 plays so much better than the first one from like the Batman combat side of things. But occasionally you run into the friction between its multiple systems.
Yeah.
And
I
I don't
like
think
I have a deck that doesn't have any of this type of chance card, so therefore this run is a wash.
yeah. And I don't think you get that at all with Rogue Legacy 2. Or even if you do on like the rare chance you just get a totally busted run that's just not going anywhere, you can usually just be like, all right, I recognize this run is not going to go anywhere. I'm either going to die or it's just going to end in like 2 or 3 more rooms and we'll just roll the dice and try again. I agree with that. Put that above Hand of Fate 2. So this time, is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Dead Cells? This one's really tough. They are similar in execution and gameplay.
Yeah.
Goodness. Man, maybe
it's been
this is
a long time since I've played Dead Cells.
I know. Talk about just like Neon Abyss. They keep being like, we put out brand new DLC. Here's a whole bunch of new stuff. It's like, oh no. I think I slightly prefer Rogue Legacy 2 over Dead Cells because of the multiple character types in Rogue Legacy 2. I think that lends more variety that clicks with me. Dead Cells variety ends up being how you build your
weapons?
character run over run, and like how you're balancing the three colors, which I still think is a brilliant system. But I think I don't have that when you see those three characters in Rogue Legacy and you're like, all right, look at this guy. Look at this
Dude,
one that rolled. All right, let's do this.
I got the right guy locked as a boxer, man. So I'm pleased every single time because I've got that emergency pull the eject button choice right there on the
Right.
right. Actually, now I have 4 people to choose from. By the way,
Even better. But I think where Dead Cells get to is like a little bit into a run where you're like, ooh, all right, I picked up this turret. Oh, I got a bunch of other red stuff. All right, maybe I'll do a red build this run. Okay, let's see where this can go. I don't know if that clicks with me as much as Rogue Legacy 2 does.
I think Rogue Legacy 2 goes above it.
Okay.
Because I love Dead Cells. Dead Cells is incredibly good.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's also super fast like paced.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to take that game slow because there's always that pressure on you to move faster and faster and faster every single time.
Right.
And like you said, it's one of those old school roguelikes now where it doesn't have the immediate meta progression that other ones do.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't have the now you are more powerful X, Y, and Z. It's just oops, that run was a wash, let's go again.
You've unlocked some more items, maybe you found a new zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would prefer Rogue Legacy 2 over Dead Cells.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Crypt of the Necrodancer? Again.
So real quick aside here.
Yeah.
It looks like every 50 episodes or so that we do is when we end up with a messed up thing here. Because
Okay.
you've got Hand of Fate, which was started on episode 1.
Uh-huh.
Necrodancer started on episode 11, which is probably the outlier. But then after that, you got Dead Cells number 80,
Uh-huh.
Hades number 101,
Yep.
Hand of Fate 2 number 147, and now this number 184, or whatever it was.
Every 50 episodes or so, we just get a hot one.
Uh-huh.
Boy. Yeah, yes?
You think it goes above?
Hesitant, yes, but I think again it's more of I prefer this gameplay, I prefer the meta progression, I prefer the style of game it is. Again, like we said before, Crypt of the Necrodancer, incredible. At some point we'll play Cadence of Hyrule on the show as well. But there's not a lot wrong with Crypt of the Necrodancer, except for difficulty curves of the multiple variety.
Yeah. Let me tell you about doing that run I'm stuck on right now, where it's like you play as, I think it's Cadence's mother, and you have 1 health.
Yeah, the impossible run.
Yeah, you start on the last dungeon. You cannot increase your health at all, and you have to work your way backwards.
Right. I think my answer is it goes above, again, just for personal preference.
I can do that. It's a modernized roguelike. Like when you look at it, the house rules allowing you to play it how you want to play it, everything else that comes along with that these days.
Right.
I wish Crypt of the Necrodancer had a house rules mode where I could turn down the difficulty so that I could get those achievements, but it doesn't. So I will get them or not. Probably not.
Right.
In whatever time that happens. but you're also looking at 7 years difference between the releases of these two games.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they're both so good, have their own art style, have their own looks, they have their own ways of playing. I think Rogue Legacy 2 does come out on top because of the difference of when it was made.
Yeah.
It is so good, and I will always look Crypt of the Necrodancer and say, it has Freddy merchantry, for
Yeah.
heaven's sakes.
How can you go wrong?
Like, it's so good. And I will forever love them for it, but in this case, I am perfectly fine with Rogue Legacy being above it. I would say the only thing Crypt does better than Rogue Legacy, 100%, which is kind of a given considering it's the point of the game, is the music in Crypt is insanely good.
It's very good. All right. We're at number 3. Is Rogue Legacy 2 better than Hand of Fate? Oh, polar opposites here. Hand of Fate being super simple but laser focused on what it is and doing it really well. And
Yep.
Rogue Legacy 2 being very big and very sprawling and also doing it very well. Oh, man.
This is hard. We should have started at 10, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. Oh, we're giving the listeners a mega-sized episode here, especially since we missed last week. You know, because I had COVID.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, definitive. I like it.
No, it's not definitive. It's I have to make a choice. I have 2 children. I have Hand of Fate. I have Rogue Legacy 2. Which child do I kill? I kill Hand of Fate. I keep Rogue Legacy 2.
Yeah. If you got to make a Sophie's choice, you do have to choose.
God,
I love Hand of Fate.
I do too. Hand of Fate is like number 2. Was number 2, potentially.
Yeah.
I just have the preference of Rogue Legacy 2. It might be one of the most finely polished games I've ever played. And you can say that about all of these. Like I said, like when
sure.
you're looking at this top 10, this is like exceptional titles in their own particular version of roguelikes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to me. Descenders would be up here too, just for being completely insane.
Right. Oh,
But
on that point, I will agree with you that I think it should scooch up to the number 2 slot. Not through gritted teeth. It just, like you said, we need to make a choice.
Like for me, it was one of those things where I have a disc or a pen drive.
Mm-hmm.
In 2 hours, the internet is going to go out forever, so I will no longer be able to play either Hand of Fate or Rogue Legacy 2.
Which one do you save?
Which am I putting on a pen drive to make sure I can keep playing over and over and over again? And
Good point.
It's Rogue Legacy 2. And again, Hand of Fate is probably at least 7 years old as well at this point.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's not a recent game by any stretch of the imagination. The studio has come, gone, and reformed.
That's right. Oh, boy. Okay, well, let's start the battle for the number 1 spot. Who's going to get it?
Same year as Crypt, by the way.
Wow, that's wild. What's going to be our number 1 game? Hades or Rogue Legacy 2?
It's Hades.
Yeah. I think this is the easiest choice on the list. I think, to me, it's. I think you can make the. I'm not going to, but I think you could make the argument that Rogue Legacy 2 would beat Hades. I think Hades does everything right, nearly flawlessly, every single time, and steps the roguelike genre forward to where expectations for future roguelikes are comparing to Hades.
Yeah, like that's the problem. Is Hades? It's because of Hades that now we get 50 roguelikes every single week.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of Hades, because the Hades made it popular, made roguelikes available to the mainstream, and made it make
Yes.
sense to the mainstream. And
Right.
because of that, it's like, okay, great. Now everybody knows what roguelike is. Everybody has got over that hurdle that they had in their brain, which was, well, I don't know how a roguelike works.
Right.
So
Or,
then,
it's all luck based.
yeah, everyone's got over that because of this game. And unfortunately, it just happened to be the game that also gave you a valid story reason to do it. It has voice
Yeah.
acting and progression and story and meta progression. And
It's astoundingly gorgeous.
yeah, the artwork is insane. The thirst was real when that game came out.
Yep.
Like, it was insane. I
think if for me, if anything is going to beat Hades for our King of the Hill here on the list, it's going to be something of an undeniable quality like Rogue Legacy 2. If we're gonna
yeah.
if there is an Isaac 2 at some point, which there probably will, sometime before now and when we're 80, that will probably be something that's going to challenge that seat. And man, Rogue Legacy 2 gets super close.
Like, you can tell how much Hades has impacted the industry,
Yeah.
or the genre, I should say. Because as far as I'm aware, that heat thing that Hades does didn't exist before Hades did it.
I would have to do a bunch of research, but I'm not sure. I've
Like,
seen
did Rogue
something.
Legacy 1 have like a modifiers for New Game Plus thing? Because I
I
don't
don't
think it
remember
did.
it having. I think it just
It
got
might have
like,
done the Dark Souls thing of like, oh, now it's 10% more difficult and you get 10% more
yeah, I think
rewards.
every time you added a plus to New Game Plus on that game, like I ended up at like New Game Plus 7. It was just like X% harder. And I'm sure there's another game that did a system like that before Hades, but Hades certainly solidified the system of like, all right, now here's how you do this system.
Yeah, like, it's insane. And let's not talk. Let's mention the voice acting as well in Hades. Like,
Yeah.
how far out do you plan your story for your game that you have all of that voice acting ready to go from day one?
It's bonkers. Yeah,
Like,
so
it's going to take something monumental to take down Hades.
Yeah. Well, that's an easy one. One easy decision we've made in this one. Rogue Legacy 2, congratulations at number 2 of the best roguelikes of all time. We now have 46 games. Cult of the Lamb will be our 47th game here, which is our next game here in the list. But Hades sitting at number 1, Rogue Legacy 2, hanging out in good company at number 2. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed us doing psychic damage to ourselves by making difficult decisions about video games. And I hope we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.